Can you read lips?
What time is it? Yes, it's time for my neighbor.
You want to do that first? So, yeah, I want to hear about your childhood. Where have you always lived in Oregon?
Since I was a baby.
Yeah.
Started in Medford, and then when I was 5, we moved to Rogue River. And I moved to Grants Pass my junior year of high school. And, been here except for a few of the years during the war when traveled around. Other than that, I've been Grants Pass, but Rogue River was where I went to school, and so that's hometown to me, really.
Yeah. So how many years did you live there?
Well, from the time I was 5 till I was, I guess, 16.
And then where does your family come from before Oregon?
Well, Mother had lived in California, and then she lived in Washington and Oregon. So I don't really know where all for sure that she lived before. My grandmother was in California, although she lived at Joe Bar, which is above Rouge and Copper in this area for a while when we were kids. Grandpa had a mine. I don't know that he ever found gold, but
Yeah. Where was the mine?
up on Carberry Creek near Joe Bar, between Copper and Joe Bar. I remember being there when we were children.
Oh, really? And what year were you born?
1926.
1926. And what in your roots, your family comes from what countries originally? What kind of blood you have?
Scotch, Irish, English, Dutch, German. Our ancestry is traced back quite far. We're direct descendants of Mary, Queen of Scots, and Abraham Lincoln was one of our relatives.
Oh, really?
And my grandparents or at least my great-grandparents on both sides of my family were well-to-do. But there was evidently some depressions or something that wiped them out before that. Because by the time we came along, our family didn't have much.
Where did your great-grandparents live?
My father was from Ohio. I'm not sure where his parents lived. I tried to get information from my grandfather. He was a lawyer in Hood River. And I would write him trying to get information on his parents, on his wife, and different things. And all he'd write me was on himself. He was sort of self-centered. Either that or just old and forgetful, because he wouldn't give me the information I'd asked for. My mother's family, my mother was born in Colorado. I forget which states. I've got stories and things that on the family. One of my mother's maiden name was Hibbard, and her grandfather was called Squire Hibbard, and he owned a whole town somewhere. I forget if it was Ohio. I've got it written down on the story. And he gave the land for the school and for the church, and he owned the post office and the bank, and had quite a bit of money. And then they went to Texas, and there was some kind of a depression or something, and he lost most of his money. But they called him Squire Hibbard. I'm trying to think some of the other things I know about him. My grandmother was a teacher of English in California. She taught foreigners how to speak. And my mother was postmaster at Sunny Valley, besides a wife and mother. My father owned a small business. It was a card room, I think. There was no drinking. And then he had asthma and was sickly and didn't work too much, I guess. Didn't own it too long or something.
And then you have brothers and sisters?
I have one brother and two sisters. They were the farmer's kids. We lived at Rogue River on a small farm. I think it was, I don't remember how many acres, I think like 7. And Dad left our mother when she had 4 kids, and my brother was probably about a year old, something like that. I was 5 or 6, I'm not too sure. And never supported us. And Mother had to do everything, but she did. And she never complained. And we had a cow, so we had milk. And we raised a great big garden. She canned everything she got her hands on. And she made our clothes, or at least a lot of them. She made soap. She made cheese, cottage cheese, butter, about everything.
Did she ever remarry? Or
Yes, she married Mark Whipple, and we lived on a homestead that Rogue River then. And it was a big ranch, and it was real nice. We had plenty to eat. And my stepfather had a big prune orchard, and he had cows. He must have milked 8, 10 cows a day that he sold the cream from. And we had a few milk customers that bought from us. And he had all different kinds of fruit and grapes and berries, which we sold, as well as the prune orchard. And he had a prune dryer, and he dried ours and some for other people. And we had a bean thrasher. We raised lots of beans, and at thrashing time, other farmers in the area would come and bring their beans, and we'd thrash everyone's beans. And it was real nice.
And were you in the middle, or were you the oldest of the?
I was the second child. I have an older sister and a younger sister. And then my brother's the baby. And he lives here now. And one sister lives here. My other sister lives in Wisconsin.
So what was it like going to school in Rogue River? How many students were at the school? About?
Well, our class was always the biggest, and we had about 20 or 22 in our class. So the other classes evidently were smaller because we knew that we were the biggest class. We had a 2-story schoolhouse. First and second grade were together, and third and fourth, and like that, fifth and sixth. And then later they built a high school, and by the time I was in high school, they had the new high school. And of course, they've built another one since then. Everyone liked everyone. I was telling Carolyn that we had all these furnace pipes full of asbestos, and they went right over the tables in the lunchroom and the kitchen. And then also they were in this big room that we had downstairs that we played in when it was raining. And you'd play ball and things, and they'd hit these pipes, and pieces of that asbestos would come down. No one thought anything of it. And also the floors were oiled, and they were real black with this oil. And the janitor would go over with these big dust mops, and they looked quite pretty. And I think now it was a brick building, but all this wood inside was really probably quite a fire trap, but it never burned, so we survived.
You're hungry.